making.
Which is good.
Which is good.
Which is good.
Which is good.
We went to this school, we ran it Western, we ran it Northern, we ran it, then you come.
Isn't that an achievement?
Objective and non-partisan.
Honorable Minister, there were a number of points. I want to start with you.
Straight from the hearts of open-minded men and women.
Money tends to move faster at night. So when people are not counting,
Don't take it for granted.
Candid and authentic.
Because Uganda is not Thailand.
That's not correct, and we should stop that kind of mentality. So what I'm saying
That's
is,
a trick question. Don't answer.
I'm not getting into that. I'm not getting into that.
Tell him you speak Luo.
I think that's where we are beginning to have a problem.
I think what is going to kill the parish model are all the misconceptions on how it's supposed to run.
I know that the Prime Minister is listening.
Behind the headlines.
Charles, let us agree. We liberalized the economy.
We are several nations put together.
Why don't you appreciate that?
What if it fails?
I'm happy
And
to
he's
answer.
a good lawyer because Amin is not in power.
The parish development committee is functional. It is there. That there is a parish chief, that the beneficiaries do exist.
So we look at expenditure. We don't look at revenue. And that is the challenge we are giving them from Minister of Finance.
Your fountain of new knowledge, flowing into the mass body of knowledge.
First get the knowledge of Bukedia, how they want to be modernized.
Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
You return money to the treasury, which is meant for the people.
UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Happiness comes to us in many places. It's in knowing the mosquito net keeps our children healthy. The wife having the support of her husband. It's in deciding together when to have a baby. And for some, focusing on what's important right now. So what's your happiness? Make the right health decisions to ensure happiness for you and your family.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
At exactly 5 minutes past the top of the hour, which is 9 a.m. Thank you so much for being with us here on UBC TV. I'm Robert Cherawonyonyintono, and this is Good Morning Uganda Extra, an extension of Good Morning Uganda. Now, just remind you, every weekday we are here from 6:30 till the hour of 10, ensuring that we give you relevant information that you need to know as you go about business, as you go about life, and to enable you fit in any important, relevant topic of discussion. Now, this morning, I'm privileged to be hosting, that is, officials from the National Water and Sewerage Corporation. I know when you talk about National Water and Sewerage Corporation, there is so much that you would want to know. But this time, we are going to be centering and discussing 50 years of existence of National Water and Sewerage Corporation, where they're celebrating 50 years. They have been around serving Ugandans, and of course, this must be a major celebration. Now, I have a number of guests that I'm going to be discussing more regarding this with me in studios, but allow me introduce, that is just next to me, Engineer Johnson Amayo, who happens to be the Deputy Managing Director, Technical Services. You're most welcome, Engineer.
Thank you. Thank you.
Then just next to him is, Slivia Alinaitwe, who is the Deputy Managing Director, Finance and Corporate Strategy. Good morning.
Morning, Mr. Moderator.
And then on my extreme end, I have Dr. Rose Kagwa, Director Business and Scientific Services.
Good morning, Robert.
Good morning.
Good morning, our viewers.
Now, with the guests I have, of course, these are all coming from National Water. That clearly explains the topic of the day and what we are going to be discussing. When we talk about National Water and Sewerage Corporation, I want to believe that many Ugandans at least have knowledge of it, more so urban dwellers, because it's been around now 50 years, but also it has made a number of improvements, I must say. Those that are so versed with history, you remember that they began, I think, I stand to be corrected, but I think in about 3 cities or urban towns. That was Kampala, Entebbe, and I think Jinja. But as we speak today, they have evolved and they are in 262 towns or urban centers from 3. And they have a client base of about 874,129. That is service centers, approximately serving 18 million Ugandans. Now, with a population of about 45 million, 18 million Ugandans are enjoying the services of National Water and Sewerage Corporation. Now, this is where I want to bring in Engineer Johnson. Engineer, when we talk about these 50 years of celebrations, please throw more light to us on the celebrations. And we know, we here at least have heard from corridors that the celebrations are going to be at ceremonial grounds. What is this you're celebrating?
Okay, Mr. Moderator, as you have said, we are going to celebrate over 50 years of existence. And we have evolved over the time. From the beginning, we had the area of focus. That was really the first decade, the 1972-1982. We are focusing, it was really putting our foot on the ground, getting our foot in. And then thereafter, in the 90s, we went into the area of reconstruction, rehabilitation, and because that period, the 70s were challenging period where there was a lot of deterioration. And my colleagues will highlight the specifics of the achievements. In the 80s, we moved, that was the period of rehabilitation and reconstruction. In the 90s, it was a period of strengthening the legal frameworks. We remember what it is, the Constitution. We also had the Water Act. Then when we moved in October, in the 20s, the focus shifted into doing business as a private, so it was an area of focusing on commercialization and the contracting. Then the period in the 2010 onwards, there's been a lot of acceleration in infrastructure and also in service delivery. As I said, my colleagues will talk about the specifics. So we are here to celebrate really these various achievements. There have been some pre-event activities which are lined up, and the climax of all this is going to be 2nd of December, when we shall have the Principal, His Excellency, presiding over an event where we're going to pass out close to 2,000 staff who have been undergoing utility management course and mindset change. And this is all about strengthening our integrity of our staff and also to do with the mindset, attitude. Performance, success is all about having the right attitude. But we have also done a lot of infrastructure projects, completed a number of projects, funded by National Water, a very good number. We also have projects we have done with the development partners. And so we'll be using this opportunity for His Excellency to unveil those projects. But we also have a plethora of ongoing projects, those which are planned. So on that day, those will also be unveiled. So really on that very day, to sum it up, those will be the 2 key events our Excellency the President will be presiding over. At any convenient time, if the time allows, he can have an opportunity to physically commission some of the major projects that we have done. That will be very happy to have such an opportunity. So briefly, that is what is going to happen on that day.
Very interesting. And when you talk about passing out of cadres there, one of the things I must commend National Water and Sewerage Corporation is the integrity of your staff, because they usually deal with people every day life, but I can't compare them with some other bodies I don't want to mention this morning. Yeah. At least when these people come to your gate, the humility, the way they conduct themselves, the professionalism, I wouldn't say that you're ground soldiers, because much as you're in offices, the people that carry your image are the ground soldiers that we see every day, and I must say they are doing a great work in terms of being professional, in terms of knowing what they want, in terms of working with integrity. Yeah, they're not that easily bribable. They are so focused, and I want to commend them for that. Well, moving on, Sylvia, when you talk about 50 years, it's quite a long time. If it's a human being, a man, a woman at 50, you've really matured and grown. So what are some of those achievements that are outstanding that we can look to as we celebrate 50 years?
Thank you, moderator. As you have already indicated, the corporation started as a small corporation operating only in 3 urban centers of this country, Kampala, Entebbe, and Jinja. And as we talk now, we are in over 262 urban centers of this country. That is a tremendous growth in terms of reaching out to the Ugandans across the country. When you come to asset base, as my colleague Engineer Mayo has also already indicated, we have done a lot in making sure that we invest in infrastructure that helps us to deliver our services. We have grown our asset base from less than $1 billion Uganda shillings to now 4 trillion Uganda shillings. Some of these assets are funded internally by our internally generated funds, as he indicated, from what we bill and the customers pay. What we use some of it to maintain and operate the assets, and the surplus, we invest it in expansion. But we have also had a big support from the government of Uganda in terms of projects, big projects, the likes of Katosi and others, that His Excellency will be commissioning. And all these sum up to that level of asset base. In terms of revenue generation, we have also grown tremendously from billing very little to now billing an average of 46 billion per month. And that is also very commendable, and we appreciate Ugandans who consume our services for using our services diligently and paying for these services. Is what has enabled us to achieve a lot in terms of reaching out to other people as well. You already talked about the customers that we serve and also the population of Uganda, and that is also a big achievement that the corporation has registered. From less than 10,000 customers to now close to 900,000 customers, and also from a very small population to now close to 19 million people, Ugandans, 18 million something. So it is worthwhile celebrating. We have achieved a lot, even in terms of the pipeline network, the kilometers. No, we began with less than 200 kilometers, but we are now well over 20,000 kilometers in terms of network.
Well, tremendous achievements there. You've enjoyed so much in terms of assets, from 1 billion to 4 trillion. That is something commendable. And also when you talk about the coverage, of course, when you look at the national grid, of course, that means more customers, more people getting onto that. But still, this now takes me to Dr. Rose. When we talk about skilled manpower, it's very critical for the success of any organization. I'm informed that Friday you're having a graduation. Yes. That is at Gaba. Please tell us more on how this is important to National Water and Sewage Corporation. What is its relevancy?
Thank you, Robert. 50 years. When we started in the 3 towns, we actually had only 2 engineers within National Water, and they were drawn from the boards, the water boards that were there. Between the 70s and 80s, a lot was done to attract a workforce, to build a workforce, and bring in the best, bring in the engineers, bring in the chemists, bring in the accountants. In the 80s and 90s, we focused a lot on trying to up the level of education, looking at the master's levels, sending people out for courses, procurement, people had to go to the procurement schools, the HR people to UMI. But then in the 2000s onwards, we began to notice a different trend in the country. And if you recall, those who are older, we began to have the mushroom and growth of universities. And as a result, we lost out on the technical institutions, Chambogo, which was so strong for giving out the people you referred to as the foot soldiers. There began to be a very big gap. And even in the technical side, we found engineers preferring to go and do MBA instead of going to do another course on engineering or science. But then we realized we needed to focus more on the ground soldiers to try and build the skill. We also had a workforce that had experience, had worked for many years, but did not have any certification. And so we benchmarked from the best. We benchmarked from Japan, we benchmarked from Germany, and we, in partnership with the Ministry of Water and Environment and support from the German government, we embarked on enhancing our vocational skills. And we did this together with the Ministry of Education and Sports. This is a program that we are running to retool and to skill our staff. When we come to water, the bigger number of people, foot soldiers, are plumbers. But the plumbing that they do in the institutions is for household plumbing. But we're in the industry. And so we need to have the skill for industrial plumbing. We need electromechanical technicians that can handle big plants. And so we embarked on setting up the vocational school, which is fully accredited through the Directorate of Industrial Training under the Ministry of Education and Sports. And we've had a journey from 2014 where we have managed to train and skill and pass out our staff with certification through assessment that is done with the Ministry of Education and Sports. So far, we've had about 1,253 graduate, and on Friday, we'll be having our 4th cohort. This cohort is different because we will have our level 4 electromechanical technicians with the qualification of occupation, and we will also have a variety of skills that are being recognized and where the staff have been examined and successfully passed. And hence, as we celebrate the 50 years, interestingly, we also are celebrating with DIT, which is also celebrating 50 years this year. And so we are very excited about the skills that we are developing. We also support the ministry and other people involved in water, and so we are able to skill and pass out back into different sectors the skilled manpower. It's very important at the end of the day, not just to have knowledge, but to have the skills to be able to do the work properly. Thank you.
Well, that explains why we are seeing improvements. I remember there were days when a pipe would have issues.
Yeah.
and you pass by, you go, you come back, you go, you sleep, you wake up, you go, you sleep. You're like, no, I think it is water.
Yeah.
But of late, I see that quick reaction when there are such issues, and of course, the boys are around, just calling the office just next to you. Then a couple of minutes, quick response. Indeed, it is 50 years of celebration. Now, Engineer Amayo, this also takes me to be more inquisitive on what are some of the infrastructure projects that are in the pipeline for Ugandans, because for us, we want to know. We don't wait. We want to know, we prepare, and of course, we know that if there have been some challenges, this is what they're planning for us. So we just need to be a bit of patient.
Yes, we have a number of infrastructure projects in the plan. Some of them are ongoing. And those which, for example, are being funded by National Water, we are doing right now on the Antonte a water treatment plant. It's a 5 million capacity water treatment plant. And this is going to be completed in about, I must say, 2 months' time. We are doing a water treatment plant for Kalungu, Chankwanzi, and we are also doing one augmenting water services in Busheni. And prior to that, we did the Kapchora water plant, we did the Fort Porto, and we have done Parombo in West Nile. We are planning to do a number of other infrastructure projects using our endowment resources. We're going to upgrade our Tororo water system. We're going to upgrade Soroti. We're planning to put up a new water treatment plant for Moroto. Right now, Moroto relies on groundwater, which is not sustainable. It's just because of the recent security challenges that work should have started. And we are doing some improvements in Lira, but we have a bigger plan for Lira, Hoima, and Fort Porto as these major cities, where we have already launched a process of doing a detailed feasibility study for major infrastructure activity in Lira. We are extending water from River Nile for Gulu, and we expect to finish that in 2 years' time. We have also advertised to upgrade Mbale, and the Mbale system is going to take care of all the neighboring towns around Mbale. That is also a project we are doing. We are going to improve water system for Masaka, getting water from Lake Victoria, from Bukakata side. And then we are also getting water from River Kagera to supply Singiro, and partly a part of that water will maybe come to Mbarara. We have a project from Mbarara, a major project from Mbarara. So, and then in Kampala, as you remember, we did a new water treatment plant, transmission main, to bring water to Sonde. And this has created a significant improvement. But there are still some pockets of Kampala, especially the northern part of Kampala, which are still experiencing challenge. So we're already in the tender stage to do bulk water transfer. Our plan is to put up a big reservoir on the hill of Kanyanya, and from that project we will be targeting the northern part, the Kasangati, Kawembe, Matuga, and even Kanyanya, all those areas. So we're already in the tender stage, and the additional funding is in the pipeline to that effect. So those are some of the major projects. Besides the infrastructure, we're also looking into the area of protecting the environment.
Okay.
So we have got the projects which are targeting source protection We're going to do a source protection for the river of Arua, which supplies Arua town. We're doing source protection plans for, implementing for the Mbale project.
When you talk about source protection, how is this done?
There are a number of ways we do this. We use mostly what we call restoration approach. We aim at protecting the river banks by planting of species of plants which can stop siltation, and also disinterest people who have been doing farming activities along the river bank. And then also control area, things like pollution. So we work together with the local governments, the civic society, and also look at the different NGOs. So we work in partnership, and we try to work towards achieving a collaborative approach. So we're doing all this. We're also participating in efforts to protect the Ruiz catchment. We're going to do one in Busheni, because we did some projects which we completed under the World Bank funding. Arua is one of them, Busheni is one of them, and then we had the Gulu phase 1. Now, with having completed those projects, we needed to do some measures to make sure that the sources are protected. So these are going on, and all new projects we are doing now have a source protection element. And in the same line, through our own internal resources, we are also putting a lot of effort. And my colleague, Madame Sylvia, is actually a patron of a club, the school sanitation clubs, and which focus on educating children on matters of sustainable use, and also is heading a program which we call Trevolution, where we're targeting to plant 10 million trees over the next 10 years.
Over the next 10 years.
So we do it in partnership with NFA. So besides infrastructure, we're also looking at the sustainability.
Well, that is very interesting. When you talk about sustainability, protecting sources, most of the times we want water, but it should be safe. It shouldn't be polluted. And when we hear that in these 50 years, you factored in source protection, to me that is something very, very good. And of course, the enormous infrastructure investments you've talked about, where now at least a number of towns are going to be getting more reliable water. Because much as water must be safe, it must also be reliable as well. Now, before I go for a short break, we know that good financial stewardship is very important for the success of any organization. Now, Sylvia, help us understand how has this contributed to the success of National Water and Sewage Corporation, or how have you managed to have this as a principle of operation?
Through good financial stewardship is very important for service delivery. Now, at National Water, it is very, very critical that we operate within the laws of this country. We have the Public Financial Management Act that guides us in terms of budgeting and accountability. That is now at the national level, but also at the institutional level. We have a number of financial policies and procedures that guide the way we operate on a daily basis. And these have helped us to be very accountable in terms of the monies that we collect as an institution and the monies that we receive from the government of Uganda, who are the owners of the institution. So the laws and the policies and procedures in place have guided us and helped us to be accountable as far as resources, monies are concerned. As that one happens, we also have a culture as an institution of being financially disciplined. And you already indicated that our staff are satisfied. They don't indulge in so much in taking bribes. So we focus on service delivery with the money that we have, and that has helped us to grow the way we have grown. So in a nutshell, the resources that we have, we utilize them very well in line with the laws of this country that guide us as far as budgeting and utilization of resources of monies are concerned, and also the policies and procedures that we have enacted as an institution in regard to ensuring that the monies that we have are put to good use.
Very interesting there. We are still having officials from the National Water and Sewerage Corporation, and we are looking at 50 years of existence, where the main celebrations are going to be at core ceremonial grounds. And with me, I have officials there where we are trying to look at this journey. 50 years is not a short time of existence. Have they made tremendous steps in terms of improving service delivery, but also extending services closer to you? The fact is, yes, from 3 urban centers to now over 262. What does this mean? And of course, improved quality service delivery. Allow me to go for a short break. When I return, I'll still be having my guests, and of course, we'll be deliberating more on what we should expect, that is come this very D-Day, but also on what you need to know as their client. We'll return shortly.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Happiness comes to us in many places. It's in knowing the mosquito net keeps our children healthy. The wife having the support of her husband. It's in deciding together when to have a baby. And for some, focusing on what's important right now. So what's your happiness? Make the right health decisions to ensure happiness for you and your family.
A logical, deeper conversation.
How many teachers in Uganda did you consult? But there's a mistake we are making.
Which is good.
Which is good.
Which is good.
Which is good.
We went to this school, we ran it to Western, we ran it to Northern, we ran, then you come.
Isn't that an achievement?
Objective and non-partisan.
Honorable Minister, there were a number of points. I want to start with you.
Straight from the hearts of open-minded men and women.
Money tends to move faster at night. So when people are not counting,
don't take it for granted.
Candid and authentic.
Because Uganda is not Thailand.
That's not correct, and we should stop that kind of mentality. So what I'm saying
that's
is
a trick question. Don't answer.
I'm not getting into that. I'm not getting into that.
Tell him you speak low.
I think that's where we are beginning to have a problem.
I think what is going to kill the parish model are all the misconceptions on how it's supposed to run.
I know that the Prime Minister is listening.
Behind the headlines.
Charles, let us agree. We liberalized the economy.
We are several nations put it together.
Why don't you appreciate that?
What if it fails?
I'm happy
And
to
he's
answer.
a good lawyer because Amin is not in power.
The parish development committee is functional. It is there. That there is a parish chief, that the beneficiaries do exist.
So we look at expenditure. We don't look at revenue. And that is the challenge we are giving them from Minister of Finance.
Your fountain of new knowledge, flowing into the mass body of knowledge.
First get the knowledge of Bukedia, how they want to be modernized.
Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
You return money to the treasury, which is meant for the people.
UBC. Inspiring.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Welcome back from that short break. Thank you for keeping it with us here on UBC TV as we still look at 50 years, that is, of National Water and Sewerage Corporation, where they're going to be having their main celebrations at Kolo Ceremonial Grounds. And well, I have officials from there, but also I'm joined by a very interesting person, very common face when I talk about issues of national water, most when it comes to Kampala, and that is Engineer Mohamud Lutaya, who is the General Manager for Kampala Water. You're most welcome.
Thank you, Robert.
It's a pleasure always having you on set.
So it's a pleasure also to talk to our customers.
Yes, Engineer, let me just open up this with you. Kindly give us a general outlook of Kampala Water.
Kampala Water, I think some of it has been talked about by Engineer Mayo. When you look at national water, basically covers around 60 to 70% of our operations in terms of size. So that shows you how important Kampala is. And you mentioned the beginning of national water started with Kampala as one of the towns. So in terms of operations, right now, there's been tremendous growth and improvement as far as services is concerned in Kampala. Right now, we're talking about a radius of around 30 kilometers. That's our service coverage. So Kampala Water covers Kampala district, but also parts of Mukono and Wakiso. So it's a very big area and very important to the corporation, and also is very important to this country when it comes to our services. As far as water is concerned, there's been again a lot of improvement that has been registered, especially in the last few years. Specifically, when we talk about last year that we just closed the financial year, we commissioned our very important project that we've always talked about, the Katosi project. That has already had a very tremendous improvement as far as water supply in Kampala is concerned. So we have a very big cause to celebrate 50 years. We're celebrating with a major milestone that consists commissioning Katosi. So it means that right now we have enough water to serve the people of Kampala and the outskirts. The focus right now is for us to see how we can evacuate this water from the plant, from our reservoirs, to reach all the people in Kampala. And the projects Njamaya has talked about, those are some of the key projects we're focusing on. But also we have some short-term interventions that we're doing to make sure that at least we stabilize supply. I would say right now, a number of the parts that were previously water stressed are now enjoying 24-hour supply. So there's been great improvement. But also we appreciate we still have a lot of work to do, and our commitment is to make sure that we serve our customers.
Very interesting. Of course, sometimes you have a few issues here and there. Yeah. And that brings me to ask Dr. Rose. 50 years, there could have been challenges. And of course, we know your commitment is to ensure that people access safe water. What are some of these challenges?
Thank you, Robert. The challenges we face with the product, we have two products. So one is water, and the other one is the effluent we discharge into the environment. On the water side, when we look at first the population growth in the country, it has more than quadrupled. We're now talking about 45 million people. We had sources that were basically clean. When I take a step back to Kampala, for example, in 1930, when the first treatment plant was put in place, it was just an abstraction point. Abstract the water and send it out to the city. Over the years, we've had pollution that is a result of human settlement, a lot of urbanization, poor catchment management that has affected our sources. And we have had to increase the amount of chemicals that we put into the water to treat it. We've had to improve our treatment processes and pay a lot of focus on the process control. In Katosi now, that is the newest plant, fully automized, we find we've had to introduce new methods of treatment, and these have come at a cost. The other challenge is to do with the fringing wetlands that cover most of the surface water sources, where we have had degradation. And as a result, when you go to Luzira after a heavy downpour, the Nachivubo wetland that used to act as a sponge to help us deal with sedimentation, you find all the water is flushed, and a few kilometers away we are abstracting water. But Robert, despite these challenges, we've continued to ensure that our product meets the national standards and also adheres to the WHO guidelines. And we do this through a very rigorous water quality monitoring process, which starts right in the sources, through the treatment plants, through our reservoirs and tanks, and into the distribution network. We sample over 500 samples per day nationally, and we are able to monitor rigorously 16 parameters regularly, and are able to expand this to over 50 parameters. We use the water safety approach, which is a risk-based monitoring approach, to ensure that the water that is coming off our mains is safe. So we have critical control points established. We have over 2,500 monitoring points across the country. We do not do this on our own, but we make sure that we do joint monitoring, which is done every 6 months with sister bodies, the Directorate of Water Resources Management, UNBS. We also involve WHO, and in the municipalities, for example, in Kampala, KCCA. And we are able to send out samples for independent confirmation that what we are checking is good. We have 77 labs and testing centers across the country, of which 2 will very soon be accredited under the ISO accreditation system. So that is on the water side. And on the effluent side, we again check what we are receiving, we check what we are putting back into the environment, and we try to improve. We now have packaged systems, Chirudu Hospital, for example, in Fort Portal and Kisoro. We also have fecal sludge treatment plants. If you visit Lubiji here in Kampala, if you go to Buama, if you go to Arua, we are really trying to get as much as we can treated and discharged with meeting the standards. Thank you.
Very interesting when we hear issues to do with safety, because water must not only be available or accessible, it must really be safe for consumption. Now this brings me to Engineer Amayo. You're in charge of technical services. We've talked about 50 years, so many achievements, and indeed they are. But also let's look at some of the few challenges for our people currently. One is when you wake up, you open and water is not there. It was there. How are you handling this? In urban centers, in Kampala, they will tell you, these don't have water, these don't have water. As we look at 50 years and beyond, what initiatives, what plans do we have to ensure that once there is water, we reach the grid reaches at a particular area, then there is consistent flow of water?
Yeah, with the numerous infrastructure projects that we have done in the last couple of years, I think there has been some significant improvement. And some of us have been here much longer time. I'm 31 years in national water. In 1993, if you were in this country, in Kampala here, the story was different. So we have had significant improvement. There could be situations where people have we have disruptions. Maybe this year, as time goes, this year becoming less and less. And our interest is to make sure that everybody has access to water 24/7. And that's why we're doing all these infrastructure projects. And one of the most successful projects, which I must say we have implemented, is what we call the Service Coverage Acceleration Plan, which has been funded partly by National Water, partly by Government of Uganda. We have been through that project doing 2,000 plus extensions every year. We have implemented a number of water supply stabilization projects to make sure there's more water available. So going forward, we will continue to focus on infrastructure development to match the growing population. Resources, yes, are not always enough, but we will try to do the best out of the little that we have, so that at the end of the day, every Ugandan should wake up and be able to turn a tap and have water. And in Kampala, for example, currently I know we have a big problem between Entebbe and Kampala, that corridor. They are experiencing a lot of low pressure situation. We are aware about the problem. We are trying to do what it takes to make sure that that area is covered. We have already initiated a process to evacuate the water we have made available under the Katusi project. We also upgraded the Gaba water system. We intend to evacuate that water in bulk to address the current challenge we have in the Entebbe Kampala corridor. And in the long run, we also have the project, what we call Wakiso West project, is targeting the western part of the greater west of Kampala, which is not currently being adequately handled. We're going to put a new water treatment plant in a place called Boerenga between Entebbe of 60 million liter capacity. In the next, our target is in the next 5 years that should be achieved. So with these infrastructure projects which we are doing, we should be having less of the problems we are talking about. So it's our commitment, it's our business to see that Ugandans get water.
Well, that will explain now. It takes me to the Kampala man. Of course, we know if there is any place where you need water readily available, that is Kampala. Because some of these a bit extended cropping up centers, maybe there are more, they can find other alternatives. So for Kampala dwellers, now water must be safe, like Dr. Kagwa told us and clearly explained, safety being a priority. Water must be available. Like indeed, Engineer Amayo, you've just mentioned, that is your aim to extend water closer to us. But water must be affordable, it must be a common good. So as we look at these 50 years, what steps have you taken to ensure that water is affordable? I must say among bills we have, one of the lowest bill is the water bill. If you look at electricity, others I want to mention, the lowest that comes that you need home is the water bill. And actually inside you're shocked, like, but how could this bill get to this much? But let's look at affordability. What steps are there? Hope of having maybe cheaper water? Are we being exploited by, because distribution of water sometimes are the third or second party. Are we being cheated? Throw more light on that.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I think when we had the initial discussions, even yourself, you always believed water was expensive. But right now, it's good to hear that also you've appreciated that water is really affordable. And as a corporation, we try to make sure that we know and we understand the importance of water to everyone, be it the individuals, be it the country as a whole, even for business. We should make sure that the service is critical, but also it's affordable. So as a corporation, we have appreciated, we have tried to categorize our customers into around 5 categories. So we have the tariff that's supposed to cater for omuntu wa wansi, the low income earners. We call it a proper tariff. So for that one, a jerry can of 20 liters goes for only 25 shillings with VAT included. So that's how affordable. So with 100 shillings a coin, you're able to get 4 jerry cans. But I know that's what we charge. But sometimes when you go on the ground, the story is slightly different, because we bring the water for 25 shillings, but the person now selling this water charges 200, 300 shillings. So you find that, again, even the person who earns very low ends up paying more than even a person, because a tariff for someone who brings water in their home, as a domestic customer, a jerry can goes for 88 shillings. So a poor person ends up paying maybe 300 shillings, yet national charges 25 shillings. So we try to come up with quite a number of interventions, try to address that. Specifically in Kampala, management took a decision. Every year was supposed to put at least a minimum of 1,000 public water points. They're supposed to cater for the low-income earners. Right now in Kampala, we have almost 6,000. There's a project that we're undertaking, supposed to introduce prepaid meters, additional prepaid meter points. So with the prepaid meters, which we have for urban poor, the Chinusu type, when you have your token, at least we are very sure you get a jerry can for 25 shillings. So right now we have over 1,400 such points in the city, and our plan by end of next year should add another 2,600. So at least this will guarantee that a person who has a token access water for 25 shillings. Now the dimension we're doing is that we're doing over 2,600 public water points, prepaid meters. On top of that, we're distributing over 150,000 tokens. So those are again 150,000 homes that are getting a token that will get water for 25 shillings. And we're sure that if we do that, at least water will be still affordable to the people right now who are challenged or disadvantaged. The other category are the commercial customers, where a jerry can goes for 105 shillings. Again, not even, it's the only category where we have a jerry can going for 100 shillings plus. Then we have the institutions where a jerry can goes for, these are schools, these are hospitals. A jerry can goes for 89 shillings, slightly above the domestic customer. And then we have a tariff also try to support industrialization. A jerry can for an industry that consumes over 1,000 cubic meters per month or 1 million liters per month goes for 59 shillings. So again, when you look at the numbers, you find that really our prices are very, very affordable. The challenge most people always have is comes to use, you know. So when you don't use water very well, then you find you end up with a high bill, you know. Then at the end of, when you see the bill, then you think it's the price, yet it's the use. And that's why we've been really sensitizing our customers to see how they can manage their water well, instead of flushing everyone. When you have kids around, usually in holidays, they use water for all sorts of things. And at the end of the day, the bill comes out when it's huge. So we always been advising them on water saving tips. But also the payment culture. Sometimes all of us wait for so many months until we clear bills. So what was 20,000, after 2 months becomes 40, after 3 months becomes 60. Then all of a sudden it becomes a huge bill. But if we have the discipline to make sure that we can pay every month consistently, then in all essence water is really affordable. What we're trying to make sure that is we extend to many people as possible. We have a target right now to increase our customer base to over 1.2 million. And most of those are going to be in Kampala still. So even a person who earns less is better off having their domestic account, because a jerry can on a domestic account is 88 shillings, yet if you're to buy it from another person, you pay like 200 shillings. So what we're trying to do is, again, to promote affordability, to make sure that we have as many people as possible having their own private connection, because it makes sense for them to access water for 88 shillings than them being charged 300 shillings or 500 shillings by another person.
Well, our viewers, I'm very sure all you need to know about water, and there's so much good coming your way as National Water and Sewage Corporation celebrate 50 years of existence, and that will be on the 22nd. No, that will be on the 2nd of December. 2nd of December, this very year at core ceremonial grounds. When I look at time, it's not so much on my side. Allow me give, that is the Deputy Managing Director, Technical Services, Engineer Johnson Amayo, to have your final remarks.
My final remark is really to thank our consumers and our stakeholders, more especially the government of Uganda, for the support that they have always ushered. It's this environment which makes us to deliver what we have done, and we're looking at this day, 2nd, as a way of showcasing to Ugandans what we have been able to do over the years, our successes and challenges. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. And of course, last but not least, I'll have Dr. Oso Kagwa. Your final remarks to your clients, to Ugandans.
Thank you, Robert. As we celebrate the 50 years, we celebrate success. We look to the future to move the population served to beyond the 18 million to cover all the urban centers. We look to ensure that we continue to give you safe water, and that we can also eliminate the yellow jerry can and have everybody able to access water. Thank you very much.
I dream to live in that world where the yellow jerry can has been eliminated. But then, is it by invitation? The Kampala man, you know Kampala dwellers, Koro is not very far. Is it by invitation? So how do we, who are you, who is invited, who isn't invited?
I think for the celebration, everyone is invited. Okay. Because we're celebrating National Day every day. And I think as we celebrate 50 years, we want to celebrate our customers, because our motto is the customer is the reason we exist. And it's an organization that belongs to Ugandans, so we have all the reasons as Ugandans celebrate an organization that is serving us, that is going to serve us, but also serve generations to come. So everyone is invited to celebrate, because we're going to celebrate. We have an amnesty as an organization as part of the celebration. Everyone who has ever had an illegal connection, we're waiving the fees, and we invite you to come to our offices, and we have you reconnected. So that's again one of the key celebrations we're having. As we say, 50 years, we're saying that everyone should be able to have water. But I think for the celebration in Kololo, definitely will be on invitation.
Okay. Yeah. Well, so that is the 2nd of December at Kololo Ceremonial Grounds. His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, he is expected to be the chief guest, and we'll be seeing a number of achievements that have been achieved by National Water and Sewage Corporation over the 50 years. Happy 50 years celebrations. We are proud of you, because we are seeing progress, we are seeing success. Our only prayer is that every Uganda will have water nearest to their desire, in their homes, in their premises. Well, have a lovely day. See you tomorrow, God willing. Keep it with UBC TV. Good morning.